Hey guys, what's poppin'? It's your boy, back with the Borderlands 3. We'll be covering a Undying Elemental skill build for Amara. So, it'll be pretty good. The only three things you really need for this build are this skill sustainment, which is basically lifesteal, forceful expression, which converts damage into your element, and the brainstormer. The brainstormer is absolutely crucial for this build. You could also use the will-o-wisp too, but I personally like the brainstormer a lot more. Yeah, so like I said before, so basically the objective of this build is to make it impossible for you to die during team fights thanks to lifesteal. So whenever you shoot someone, you'll gain health back. You can make it so that you can just ramp it up like so severely that you'll just out heal any of the damage you will ever take during any fight, which is pretty good. So yeah, you can get crazy with it. You can either go into the green tree for more tankiness, or you could go into the blue tree for more DPS. It's all up to preference. Alright, so let's get into it. So our first skill is Anima. What Anima does is increases the status effect of your element, which is pretty important because this is an elemental build, and the longer the elemental effect is, the more damage you'll heal over time, which is really nice. Our next skill is Infusion. Converts a portion of damage dealt by Amara's weapons into an action skill element. So this is really good because the augment we're using is Soulfire, which turns it into fire, which turns all the damage we deal with guns into fire. So if you combo that with the brainstormer, which is electricity, just keep this in mind, electricity plus fire at the same time, yeah, it's a pretty good combo because it just melts the shields and then it just melts their flesh, so they just end up melting in general. Amara deals increased elemental damage, and shock damage is further increased. So yeah, like I said before, more elemental damage the better. So all elemental damage is increased by 30%, and shock damage is further increased by an additional 20%, which is really helpful, and I'll get into why that's really helpful later. So our next skill is Dread, which makes it so that whenever someone is phase locked, you'll do more gun damage, which is always pretty nice. Our next skill is Deep Well. This one's kind of a dumb point. Like, you don't really need more magazine size, but you can put this anywhere really. I'm not pronouncing that, and basically any damage you do, like any bullets you shoot at while the enemy is phase locked, has a chance to ricochet to the nearest enemy. Now this one's kind of funny because if you plan on just using the brainstormer or the will-o-wisp, it actually won't do anything, because the gimmick behind those weapons is that the shots tether to the nearest enemy, and because they tether, they won't ricochet at all, which essentially makes this redundant. But if you plan on using any other weapon, which you should, because running 2 shotguns, you run out of ammo like instantly, it's overall a pretty good skill. Okay, now we're at sustainment, the meat of this build. So Amara gains lifesteal whenever she deals elemental damage with her weapon. Alright, sounds simple, but it's actually really good, because like I said before, the brainstormer over here, how the brainstormer works is whenever you shoot an enemy, the electricity will tether to all of the enemies around the area, which essentially means that you'll get a lot of life back, like a lot of life back, especially if you combo with Phase Grasp and Allure. You will practically be immortal. Conflux is just, it's whatever. This is just from a class mod. And Forceful Expression. Amara's guns deal bonus elemental damage based on her action skill element. Alright, so this one's really good. This one also ties the whole build together, since if we go back over here, Amara's deals increased elemental damage, shock damage is further increased. Not only is fire already increased by 30% from this, it will be increased by an additional 18% of the shock damage that's done by the shotgun, by the Brainstormer. So it does a lot of damage basically. Alright, moving on to the next build. Sorry, the next tree. Mystical Assault. So our first skill is Violent Tapestry. So basically this skill lets us have an increased status effect chance, which is like always nice, since that's what our build revolves around, like making sure that electricity stays there for as long as possible so we can take back all the health. So that's pretty nice. Fast Hands. This just improves reload speed, weapon swap speed, and mode switch speed. Like I personally like it because it's nice to have faster reload speeds, but you can put this anywhere. Restless. Amara gains increased action skill cooldown rate. So this one's pretty good because the whole shtick with this build is that you're gonna want to be phase locking people as much as possible, so that you can just shoot into them, and it makes your life a hell of a lot easier. So yeah, get Restless. It's a pretty good skill. Yeah, this one's also pretty good because it's extra damage, and not only that, when the shotgun tethers, it will the tether also can also do critical hit damage, which is very nice. So Transcend is a pretty good skill. Sorry, it's a pretty good skill. Ascendant. So you're gonna want to use Ascendant for the lore radius increase, because it'll get all the squishies like from who are further away like into one place. So that's really nice. And now we have Wraith. So this one may or may not be bugged, I don't know, but on paper is very good because you just end up doing a lot of gun damage whenever someone is phase locked, which should be like every 8 seconds. So this one, this is also a pretty good skill for the build. And now we're moving on to the green tree. The only one I have here is Personal Space. You do bonus damage depending on how close you are to the enemy. This one is up for preference. Like, you don't actually need it. I just prefer it because, you're using a shotgun, so you're gonna want to be up close. And not only that, Elemental Amara is kind of a run and gun playstyle anyway, so you'll probably end up being somewhat close to the enemy. But you could put this anywhere. If you don't want Personal Space, I would recommend putting into Laid Bare, since whenever someone is in phase lock, they take increased damage from all sources. So not just you, your teammates too, which is also very good. But yeah, that's the build. I'll go through it one more time, just so that you can get a good look. Alright, cool. Now on to the equipment. Alright, so this is what I'm running right now. But again, the only thing you really need is Brainstormer. Everything else is up to preference. I'm currently running the Crossroad. It's Cryo right now because that's the only one I have. And overall, it's a really good SMG, especially for Elemental. Since it's ×4, you'll end up status affecting instantly. It's pretty good. It's pretty good for stuff like that. Brainstormer, I talked about enough, but yeah, it tethers and it makes you unkillable. It's a fun gun. So the Laser Exploder is also another really good gun for this build, because it's an electric assault rifle that shoots out on a laser, but also shoots out rockets at the same time. So you end up dealing quite a bit of electric damage, which is then converted to fire damage, and you know how the story goes. So this, and not only that, the Laser Exploder also has really nice synergy with the Transformer, but I'll get into that later. Now we're here at the King's Call. This one's just really nice for raid bosses, or when there's a badass enemy you just want to mow down really quick. So you just pull it out and you just shoot them in the head, and they just get insta-gib. But you don't necessarily need it for this build. My class mod is the Fade Zerker, since you gain since it basically increases the utility of Rush by making it so that you gain increased weapon damage and actual cooldown rate based on the amount of Rush stacks you have. So that's really good. I'm also running the Commander Plantoid for the extra shock damage, and imbue melee with fire. Like, that's kind of like a just for fun thing. Yeah, to be honest, there's probably better artifacts for this build, but this is the one I'm currently running with. Stormfront is a really good grenade for this build, since you just throw it on the floor, and like the Brainstormer, it just tethers to all the enemies in that vicinity. The Transformer is a shield that is really good for this build. Mine's Anointed, but the Anointed is really nice, but it's not really necessary. What's important here is it converts 100% of shock damage into shields. This is really cool, because what you can do is say you're down, like not you're down, but like you're getting damage a lot and you're just not shooting with the Brainstormer at the moment, or like there's not that many enemies, like you're 1v1ing a badass or something and you're dying, and like you're out of shields. What you can do is you can go switch to the laser exploder, and you can just shoot yourself on the ground, and you will end up recharging all your shields, which is really nice. The only downside to this, I would have to say, is watch out, because like, of course, we're doing an elemental damage, so you'll end up doing a lot of damage to yourself. Like, there's been times where like I shot myself like maybe like 3 times, and the fire just carried on so much that it depleted my shields and it killed me. So be careful with that, but it's still a pretty good combo nonetheless, like on paper. And yeah, that's about it so far. That's the build. I'll be going to the Cistern of Slaughter to you know, show off this build, but other than that, yeah, that's all you really need to know. Let's test this baby out.
Feeling good. Just stop. Feels so right.
Explosives this time! More!